Maybe you're not the knight I thought you were.
A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms concluded its six-episode debut season as an unexpected triumph, arriving at precisely the moment its larger franchise needed a win. When it premiered, the broader world of Game of Thrones was struggling to maintain its once unassailable reputation. The backlash against the flagship show's final two seasons had never fully subsided, and its prequel, House of the Dragon, stumbled through an uneven second installment. Meanwhile, author George R.R. Martin had not released a new entry in his main book saga in nearly a decade. By the time this quieter spin-off debuted, nostalgia for when Thrones dominated television had largely given way to exasperation. Complaints about rushed storytelling, inconsistent characterization, or simply the absence of new material at all. Into that atmosphere stepped A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and rather than trying to replicate the bombast of its predecessor, it chose restraint. Adapted from Martin's 1998 novella The Hedge Knight, the show deliberately avoided the franchise's grandest icons. There was no Iron Throne looming over political scheming, no dragonfire scorching armies, no continent-shaking wars. Instead, the narrative narrowed its focus to a wandering hedge knight and his unlikely squire, privileging intimacy over spectacle. Showrunner Ira Parker described the series as having a lot of heart, and that emphasis proved decisive. By concentrating on character rather than cataclysm, the first season rediscovered something the franchise had gradually lost: emotional clarity. That success, however, creates its own complications. A second season is already underway, with Parker and his team adapting The Sworn Sword, the next chapter in the Dunk and Egg saga. If the first season benefited from a clean, self-contained tournament arc, the upcoming installment presents a thornier challenge. Without spoiling specifics, The Sworn Sword is even more modest in scope than its predecessor. Its central dispute concerns the rights to a small stream during a drought, hardly the stuff of epic fantasy. Action sequences are sparse. Much of the drama unfolds in conversation rather than combat, and there is no grand tourney to anchor the narrative structure. Viewers embraced the small-scale storytelling of Season 1, but there is a risk that pushing the scale even lower could test their patience. When the stakes shrink too far, tension can dissipate. Parker himself has suggested that the scope may remain similar or even contract further. That creative commitment to intimacy is admirable, yet translating it into compelling episodic television will require careful calibration. What reads as quiet and reflective on the page must feel purposeful and dynamic on screen. Complicating matters further is the likely absence of many supporting characters who enriched the first season. The heart of the series, Dunk and Egg, portrayed with warmth and nuance by Peter Claffey and Dexter Sol Ansel, remains intact. But the broader ensemble that orbited them will, if the adaptation follows the novella closely, step aside for now. Characters such as Lionel Baratheon and Rhaemund Fossaway, along with the various Targaryens introduced earlier, do not factor into the events of The Sworn Sword. Their disappearance means Season 2 will effectively reset its supporting cast, asking audiences to invest anew. This revolving door dynamic has advantages and drawbacks. On one hand, it underscores the itinerant nature of Dunk and Egg's journey. On the other, it deprives the show of continuity with characters viewers have already come to care about. The burden will fall on the writers to craft fresh personalities who feel as vivid and layered as those we are leaving behind. Structural challenges loom as well. The first season adapted a story with natural peaks and turning points. Most memorably, Egg's revelation of his true identity as Aegon Targaryen. Such moments provided organic mid-season crescendos. The Sworn Sword lacks comparable twists. Breaking it into 6 satisfying episodes will demand invention. Parker has confirmed that Season 2 will again consist of 6 installments, but stretching a lean novella across that framework without padding or stagnation will be no small feat. Budgetary pressures add another wrinkle. Inflation has eroded purchasing power, and the story's drought-stricken setting requires filming in sun-baked landscapes rather than the more economical backdrops previously used. Location changes bring logistical costs, potentially limiting opportunities for large-scale flashbacks or elaborate sequences. That constraint is particularly relevant given the novella's heavy references to the Blackfyre Rebellion. The first season employed flashbacks to enrich its historical context. Season 2 could theoretically dramatize more of the rebellion to inject spectacle. Yet depicting that conflict convincingly would strain resources and risk shifting focus away from the protagonists. Overemphasizing the rebellion might even prompt viewers to question why the show does not simply center on that war instead. Looking ahead, a third season has already been approved and will presumably draw from the Mystery Knight. That installment contains more overt action and clearer intrigue, making it somewhat more adaptable. Beyond that, however, lies uncertainty. The television franchise has encountered this predicament before, most famously when Game of Thrones surpassed Martin's published material and ventured into largely uncharted territory. Such a path carries obvious risks. The decline of Game of Thrones after it moved past its source material remains a cautionary tale. Deviations from Martin's intricate plotting proved controversial, and some fans remain wary of any continuation that strays too far from the author's direct guidance. Yet there is reason for cautious optimism. Season 1 of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms already expanded upon the Hedge Knight in meaningful ways. Not every edition succeeded, but several original scenes enhanced the story's emotional texture. Moments such as the conversation in Lionel's tent, the inclusion of new minor characters, and the quiet exchanges between Dunk and Egg demonstrated that Parker and his collaborators can build upon Martin's foundation without undermining it. They showed a willingness to invent while remaining faithful to tone and theme. If the series is to thrive, that creative confidence will be essential. The inaugural season may have been the most straightforward adaptation available. The road ahead demands greater invention, tighter structural discipline, and perhaps a touch more daring. Still, the early evidence suggests that this creative team understands what makes Dunk and Egg resonate: humility, loyalty, and the fragile honor of small deeds in a vast world. In revitalizing a fatigued franchise, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms proved that scale is not synonymous with significance. By embracing modest stakes and foregrounding character, it restored a sense of purpose to a universe that had begun to feel overextended. Whether it can sustain that achievement through leaner source material and mounting expectations remains uncertain. But for now, it stands as a reminder that even in a realm defined by thrones and dragons, sometimes the most compelling stories belong to a wandering knight and his squire, trying simply to do what is right.